teachers union, right? They can go beyond that in the public and the private schools, right? So that's a great benefit, right? And of course, in preparation for the general strike, right?
那第二个部分就是地方的或者是全国的国际的这个委员会。那这些人呢，他们其实在里面做的事情，这些人都是选出来的。那当然是由工人全部投票选出来。那第二个是他们其实是一个轮值的一个工作。那大部分其实就是没有什么权利的事情，就一些行政上的事务或者是文件啊要发表，大家做刊物这些东西，这些都是由工人自主来去营运。那第三个部分就是产业工会。那这个大家应该相对来说比较熟悉，就例如说在一整个产业里面，可能是例如说教育它可能就有小学、中学，然后大学就是高等教育的不同的工会的这些老师，那他就是通都是在教育产业里面。那这个其实会比就是我们目前比较常看到，就比如说高教工会是高等教育工会，那可能还有中学校的老师有个工会，然后可能小学老师有个工会之类的。那这些老师其实是分开的。那如果说它是一个像这样子一个产业工会，它是可以把所有老师同等在一起。那这个的好处是大家可以互相知道目前老师的处境。另外一个部分是能够更清楚的知道说整个问题的所在在哪里。当然，最后最重要的是就是可以一起来做一个大罢工，整个教育产业的大罢工。
Very good. Next slide, please.
So, the IWW was formed originally about 100 years ago because the labor movement of that time wasn't able to organize the new industries of that time, the auto industry, the growing steel industry, mass production.
那 IWW 它其实是在大概100年前左右就开始的一个工人的工会。那因为那时候正好是工业革命的时期，就是会有非常大量的生产，可能是钢铁的，或者是矿工，或者是制造业等等的，所以那时候开始会有大量的这样子的情形发生。
All of the problems which today still exist in the labor movement were, you might say, in those days even worse. The labor movement really only protected a small labor aristocracy. I learned that word. It's 工人贵民阶级, right? No? No, never mind. Labor aristocracy, right? Yeah. Yes, the top of the working class. The unions were just protecting them and leaving everyone else out. That included, in the United States, that included women, it included immigrants, Chinese workers, also workers from Latin America. Yeah.
所以我们刚刚前面提到那些很多的问题，在那个时候其实是更严重的，而且那时候的工会它其实是非常非常少的人在经营，再去运作，就像刚刚讲到那个工人的，就是这种头人式的工会主义，那它其实就是只是保护非常特定的少数人的权益，例如说有些人就不会被保护到，例如说像移民、移工这些外国来的工人，或者是女性在那时候还是一直都被歧视的。
And so the IWW was started organized by people who had been organizing and trying to fighting many different battles in many of these new industries because they saw that we needed one big union that would unite all workers all across the world to pull off a general strike with the goal of eventually taking over the means of production and abolishing the wage system.
所以世界产业工人工会就是在那个时候发现到，就是我们要保护的不只是现在的那些受头人所保护的这些工会里面的成员，而是更多的人，是更多大家都在劳动的人，这些移工，这些女性的工人，然后就是他们认为就是一个大的工会，一个全球性的工会，所有人都是工人的时候，大家都加入工会，这才有机会能够去改变这个整个制度。那当然 ，IWW 的最终的目的是希望能够去废除所谓的薪资的制度，就是不要再用金钱来去衡量所有的劳动成果。
So it was enormously successful. 200,000 workers across the United States, another thousands more workers in Australia, across Africa, also workers in Japan and other places in Asia joined the IWW. But it was so successful that it was attacked by employers and was almost destroyed.
那时候的 IWW 其实是非常成功的，在上面有写，就是北美洲、南美洲，在非洲，甚至在日本、欧洲都有非常非常多，大概可能有20万的工人都加入了 IWW， 他们在各地开始发起各种的行动、抗议、罢工。那就是因为这样太成功了，所以以至于后来就被很多的政府还有企业财团去就是打压这样子的工会。
So while many IWW members went on to play a big role in building the labor movement across the world of the later 20th century, the organization itself became very small until the late 1990s. when globalization made the idea of building one big union and fighting capitalism, again, seemed like an urgent task.
那一直到20世纪末之前，其实这些工人的活动是非常活跃的。但是后来因为遭到打压，所以其实很多的工会组织者，他们就开始回到就是各自的国家或者是各自的生活周遭的工作场所去做组织。那一直到就是19世纪，21世纪末的时候，才开始就是最近开始有这个世界产业工人工会的兴起，再度复苏。
And so the IWW began organizing again. Waging lots of small campaigns, learning how to organize, teaching ourselves how to organize. And our first major campaign ended up being Starbucks. Today, the IWW follows 3 primary strategies. I'll translate.
所以大概在2000年前后的时候，就是这些过去曾经是 IWW 成员的人，然后还有一些新加入想要去试图去做组织的人，他们开始有一些新的活动。那当然是有一些零星的、比较小的地方性的组织或者是行动，但是比较著名、比较大规模的呢，就是在2004年前后开始去组织的星巴克工会。
So our strategy today is primarily to organize workers who are not in any union. We do that both by getting jobs in workplaces and beginning to organize there, and also helping workers who come to us who want help organizing, what we call hot shops.
所以在组织的方式呢，就是其实最希望的是能够去组织到那些还没有加入工会、还没有被组织到的工人。
Another thing we do is, can't remember what that says, is dual carding. That's right, dual carding. Right, because many workers are in other unions. We allow them to join the IWW. We help them make their unions more democratic, help them make their unions more effective.
那第二个就是双重或者是多重会籍，因为其实在美国有非常多的工人，他在进入这个公司以后，他其实就已经是自动变成某个工会的成员。但对他来说，他其实觉得这个工会一点都不民主或者没有意义。那 IWW 在做的事情呢，就是让他成为世界产业工人工会的成员之后，也去帮助他如何去改善他自己现在身在的那个工会。
We also help workers build solidarity networks, where any worker who has a problem with their employer or also with the landlord can come to the IWW and get help fighting their boss.
那第3个部分，其实我写的是个案协助处理，但是它比较像是一个互助会。那它就是一群工人，大家互相帮助。它可能不只是劳资争议，就是工作上的问题，还有可能是，例如说你跟房东吵架了，那你会需要有人挺你。那这就是一个像这样子的一个网络。
So, would you mind going to the next slide? So I'll talk mostly about our primary organizing strategy, which is salting. This is the strategy that we used at Starbucks.
刚刚前面其实有讲到2个组织的方式，一个叫做 salting， 然后一个叫 hot shopping。hot shop。
Salting, which is different than yeah.
那我们现在要讲的这个是 salting， 其实就是工人有意识的去加入某一个工作场域，然后开始去组织那个地方的人。
So in this strategy, we first, I'll just tell my story as an example. So in 2004, a few workers in New York City a group of Starbucks workers in New York City formed a union with the IWW.
那在2004年的时候，他和一些其他在纽约的星巴克工作的人一起成立了就是 IWW 的星巴克工会。
Actually, Leonard, could you go to the next slide? So we'll come back to this. So, who here has been to Starbucks before?
大家有去过星巴克买咖啡吗？
Shame on you. I'm just kidding. I've been to Starbucks as well. We're not calling for a boycott yet.
我们现在其实还没有在要求就是去抵制星巴克。
But if you've been to Starbucks, you probably know what kind of image Starbucks has. What image does Starbucks? What does Starbucks want you to think about Starbucks?
但如果你有去过星巴克的话，你大概会有印象，就是你觉得星巴克它想要给你一个怎么样子的感觉
？Cozy, comfortable,
舒服
right? Progressive, maybe?
Yeah, ecologically caring, give some money to
一
the
个
farmers.
有环保意识的一个店家，一个咖啡店。
Does Starbucks love workers?
你会觉得星巴克会很疼他的员工吗？对他们很好吗？
Does it love its customers?
他会对他的顾客很好吗？
Does it love the coffee farmers?
他们会帮助这些农民吗？
Does it love the environment?
they promote themselves as fair trade.
Yeah.
They use fair trade coffee.
星巴克会用很多公平贸易的咖啡豆来去彰显，就是他们非常关心环境跟消防。
Starbucks has made itself into a symbol not just of globalization, but also of what they would like us to think of as a new responsible capitalism that's making everything better for everyone.
星巴克在谈，就是让这个品牌变得全球化，或让更多人去认识它。其实，在意图是要让消费者去觉得说，我是一个有负责任的消费者，我是去消费公平贸易的咖啡豆，那我是关心这个环境，我是一个绿色的消费者。
Well, when I got a job at Starbucks in 2006 and walked into the Mall of America, the largest mall in the United States, and went to work at a Starbucks there, I found a very different reality.
那我在2006年的时候，我在一间就是大卖场里面获得了这个星巴克的工作。但是当我走进去这间星巴克的时候，我发现到就是这跟我想象中的并不一样。
The legal minimum wage in the United States was $7.25 per hour. Starbucks paid most of us $7.35 per hour.
在那时候，就是基本薪资呢是1个小时7.25块钱。那星巴克给我们的薪水呢是1个小时7.35块钱。
In most jobs, do you know how many hours you're going to work every week?
大家应该知道，就是每一周大概都要工作多长的小时吗？
Yeah, most jobs, 40 hours a week is a standard work week, right?
大部分都是可能平均来说应该是一个礼拜40个小时。
At Starbucks, you never know how many hours you'll have each week.
但是在星巴克，你可能每个礼拜都不知道你这个礼拜会工作多少个小时。
Next week, we don't expect very much business, so you only get 18 hours.
所以可能这个礼拜很多，但是下礼拜我们可能觉得是淡季，可能大家都出去玩了，那可能就Starbucks没有人了，所以我们可能下礼拜只给你18个小时。
But the week after that is Christmas and New Year's, so you need to come and work 45 hours.
再隔下一周呢，就是刚好就是圣诞节跟跨年，就过年了嘛，大家都会出来玩，所以说呢，那你下礼拜就做45个小时、50个小时之类的。
Oh, but actually today isn't so busy, so why don't you go home 3 hours early?
那今天其实并没有这么多客人，状况也没有这么好，那不然你就先回家好了。
Starbucks was one of the first companies to use a computer program to predict how much business they would have and schedule the bare minimum number of workers to do the work needed to serve the customers.
星巴克大概是全世界第一个用电脑系统来去评估，就是预估说未来接下来这1个礼拜会有多少客人，然后他们会设定就是每一天大概有基本的要有多少人在店里面工作。
Of course, the number of workers they thought needed to be there was often less than the number of workers who actually needed to be there.
但通常他们用这个电脑系统评估出来的，通常都会少于实际上应该要有的人数。
So, for example, worked at the store opens at 6 a.m. 2 workers come at 6 o'clock in the morning.
那像我在这个商场里面工作的这间星巴克，它是